Hey Zoe, what are the easiest pitfalls to fall into when it comes to building a personal brand, and how do I avoid them? Asking for a friend. If you're tired of the old cookie cutter marketing advice and want to take your personal brand to the next level with bold, actionable strategies that truly reflect you, you're in the right place. Let's untangle your marketing mayhem with Zoe, the video confidence coach, on the Unboring Your Brand podcast. Unboring Your Brand was recorded on Wadawurrung land. And thank you, as always, to people who reach out to me with these questions, either via email or via comments, via DMs. Any way you like to reach out to me, I do like a chance to answer these questions in detail in the podcast. Today, we have a discovery chat I had with Tom. Hi, Tom. And this is part of a larger conversation that we had about common mistakes when starting to build your personal brand. Too long didn't read. Essentially, Tom is starting to build their personal brand. Of course, they're not starting from nowhere. Your personal brand is ultimately your reputation. It's just you're taking control of it because it's your personal brand. And as Tom is trying to take a hold of this, not necessarily change in their life, but they're starting to make decisions, not just for them, but who exactly they serve. In those moments, they had a lot of questions about mistakes or things that they can avoid to avoid any pitfalls or any mistakes that they can make before they've even done it. Now, of course, as any of our listeners or watchers who are business builders or anyone who has experienced these larger projects outside of themselves in the past, there is going to be mistakes. You are going to come across mistakes that you make, people make previous to you. There is going to be mistakes. There's not everything that you can do to avoid them. But what I'm going to do is I have a list of 7 pitfalls that are very common when it comes to personal branding. And what are the easiest ways to avoid them? Now, of course, these are not be all and end all. These are fairly general because we're on the podcast today. But if you want to know more about your specific situation, make sure you check out or book in a Pick My Brain session at vcc.training, where we can have a bit more of an in-depth conversation. Now, of course, it's going to be very generalized today, but I'm going to do my best to drop all my examples with a little bit of sass along the way because, of course, that's what I do. Essentially, what we're going to look at is when building a personal brand, it's a long journey, as I say repeatedly when I say personal branding journey. It's also a little bit like dating. If you try too hard or if you try to push too hard, no one's going to give you a second look because they see you're disingenuous and they just see that you're just really, really gunning for them and they're like, okay, I'm happy, I'm cool. And if you're aloof or if you ghost them for 6 months, no one's going to remember you. So we're going to talk about the easiest traps when it comes to about building a personal brand and how to set up systems and processes that you can use to avoid these pitfalls. Now, of course, everything as I'm discussing are going to happen over time. And this is going to heavily relate to another podcast that I run from the same question of Tom, which are common mistakes that people have when building their personal brand and how can be avoided. Essentially, the reason I'm repeating this is because I honestly thought of more pitfalls that you can take. A lot of pitfalls that you can make when building your personal brand. But I also wanted to just drill down a little more into what these pitfalls are in a more generalized sense, because I like to be very direct and very specific and detail-oriented, which is my problem when speaking on podcasts. So, hello everyone, come along, let's join the parade and see what the first pitfall is. So the first pitfall when building a personal brand or growing a personal brand is thinking of style over substance. What I mean by that is when it comes to your personal brand, especially when you're first starting out and you don't have a lot of experience, is you have a tendency of thinking that pretty pictures, cool quotes, a logo, and some colors is your personal brand. But there's no value behind it, and it's not going to cut it. Now, of course, I'm not saying this to be mean. Those things are somewhat important, but they're also very basic level. They're kind of like step 1. Like, what colors do you like? These ones. Do they work together? Kinda. Let's make them work together. Okay. Like, have you got some nice pictures of you? Some headshots, maybe? Or if not, maybe hire a photographer for an hour and maybe get a friend to dress up as one of your clients, so then you can look like this is how you work. that's kind of like the baseline when it comes to that. But before you even do any of that, you need to have a really clear idea of who you're talking to. And when you give people, again, your people, not everyone, your people, and I get that into another pitfall in a sec, is giving your people something to learn, laugh at, or share is great. It gets people on board, it gets you the leads, gets you the interest. But if they get past that first gate and see you have no substance or value, people are going to be like, oh, why did I follow you? Oh, yeah, because you had like a viral image or a cool image. Cool. I'm just going to ignore you, or I'm going to forget about you. So if you are doing your best to try and bring in people, again, your people, which we'll get into the next pitfall for that one, it's okay to have things look a little scruffy. It's okay to not have things look perfect. As long as you are doing your best to educate, to entertain, and to share your knowledge, because you are trying to lead people to the solution of whatever you are either selling or whatever is the solution to the problem that they have. Again, your people. You don't need to be cute. You need to be useful and cute. And as I was trying to say before, with the next pitfall is trying to please everyone. When you are trying to please everyone, you are going to be remembered by no one, because you are going to be so vague that they are not going to care an itty bitty bit about you, because they are not going to A, remember who you are because you're just speaking so vaguely. 2, it's not going to give you a lot of substance behind your style of what you're trying to get people on board with. And if you do not have opinions on things, it's going to drastically overwhelm you and burn you out. You are not going to be able to make marketing or business decisions at all because you don't know who you're talking to. You end up being bland, beige, and honestly in the meh zone. And you don't have to be for everyone, because not everyone is for everyone. Not everyone cares about what they care, what you care about clearly, and what you are building your personal brand around, and how you're trying to serve the people. So when it comes to these, now of course I have my customer avatar cheat sheet, which you can find in the description below, and you can find out more details about that. The reason that I harp on a lot about customer avatars is essentially a made-up person of people that you have worked with in the past or intend to work with. And this customer avatar has all the details about, like, not just like the demographic of like, oh, they're between this age and this age, or they work here. No, like really detailed things of like, so for example, my customer avatar is Melissa. Hi, Melissa out there. Melissa Thompson. She is a tech entrepreneur based in Melbourne or Sydney, mainly based in Sydney because that's where everyone is. And she is in her mid-50s. All her kids are older or like take care of themselves. Yes, she has to go do a couple of things for them, but mainly a lot of her work is trying to grow her business while also being relevant in today's marketplace. She also wants to grow her personal brand. So she's got a lot of things juggling, and those are the people that I work with. Now, of course, I want to stress, I'm not shunting anyone else who is not that exact fit. I'm not cursing everyone out. I was going to do rude fingers. That's probably not a good idea to do on the camera, Zoe. I wasn't going to curse everyone out who is not that exact fit. It just helps me when it comes to my messaging, my marketing, and the decisions that I make, because that's the type of people I want to attract. I want to attract people who have an emotional center. If it's just about the money for them, cool. There are plenty of other people they can go to. I am very emotionally driven. So it helps when I work with people who are passionate about what they do and who are emotionally driven, because we can synergize, we can see each other, we can work together. I'm able to work with these people because I know who I'm talking to. I can pick my people and speak straight to them. So, unlike a Bunnings sausage sizzle, you are not everyone's butt. So in those moments, being able to not necessarily choose, but have a direction of who you're speaking to. And if you don't have a direction, honestly think to yourself, who are the people that I've worked with and who do I like working with? And if you haven't worked with anyone yet, who would you like to work with? But be very specific about who these people are. And again, if you are a bit confused about how this can work or break down, make sure you check out my customer avatar sheet or cheat sheet located in the description. The last thing that can definitely happen when you are speaking too vaguely or you don't know who you're talking to is that your messaging is wildly inconsistent. Not just in tone, but just in message and opinion. It's easy to copy off other people. It's easy to copy off other people's styles, especially people who are 10, 15, 20 years ahead of you. People who have teams, who are making millions of dollars, who have a very big leg up over you. Not just in time, but also they have spent this time honing in on those people who really care about what they do and have an easier sell so that they can start generating money and blah, 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 blah. Again, I'm going into the business side of things, Zoe. We're talking about marketing here. So when it comes to your inconsistent message, if you sound, and this goes across all of your platforms, and again, not just on social media, but on your website, if your website is very corporate, like very clear language, a lot of letters, like messages in letter form, acronyms. If you have a lot of acronyms on your website, but say, for example, your Instagram is very sounds like a DJ from the 2000s, and like on LinkedIn, you end up sounding like a lawyer. That does not compute, and yet you're all the same brand, and it's all coming from the same person, your personal brand. And if you are working with a team in those events, you need things to be consistent and cohesive, because people are going to research you. If they are interested in your message and your opinion and what you have to say, and also the solution you provide, they are going to research you. We are not in a day where people kind of go off word of mouth and gut alone. Yes, word of mouth can get you started, but people are going to research you. And say, for example, that may come across more with AI frameworks, which I'm not looking forward to that. But when people research you, they're going to find your different places online. Not just social media, but also your website and any places that you are online, maybe where you put articles or forums or blog posts. People are going to be confused and they're going to bounce. They're going to be done. They're going to be like, this person clearly doesn't have their shit together and they clearly are not the right for me, I'm going to leave. If you keep your tone, your offers, but also your vibe consistent across the board, people are going to trust you more. They're not going to get the heebie-jeebies, they're not going to get the ick, and they're going to go, this person is for me. They're going to feel your playlist vibes and have everything work and meld together, and they're going to trust you because everything sounds cohesive. For those who are listening, I winked. It didn't work out well. And the next pitfall that I want to get through is copying and pasting your vibes. So what I mean by this is seeing someone, as I mentioned before, who is 10, 20, 30 years ahead of you, maybe someone who's got a leg up because they had a lot of money, they had a lot of connections, or maybe they worked in the industry for a lot longer, made those connections and money, and then proceeded to become the influencer, they proceeded to grow their personal brand, or they've just been doing it for a very long time. Or they've been rubbing shoulders with the right people at networking events. These people have developed their style and their platform, and if you go about copying them, you are going to sound like a knockoff, and people will notice it because we are very good at picking up patterns as humans. And if you are unauthentic, people are going to clock that, they're going to distrust you, and they're going to immediately block you. Not just the block button, but also just the ignore. They're just going to ignore you. Every time you come up, they're just going to scroll past you. Why should they care? Because you clearly don't. You want to be someone else. Why should they care about what problem you solve or the solution you have? Why should they give a crap? You clearly don't. So in those times, you need to be authentic. And when you are starting out with your personal brand, authenticity is your best selling point. Even if it's a little weird, nerdish, goofy, geeky, that honestly is what sells because people respect people. Not necessarily respect. People connect with people. Respect is earned. And inspiration can be cute. You can get a couple of words in, or maybe you can get a couple of mannerisms, or maybe even a couple of ideas from other people that are way ahead of you. But make sure you piecemeal them and make them your own. Something that you can do consistently and something that you feel good about doing. Because you're not a cover band. No, I don't want to say, cover bands are cool. I would say a lot of my music are cover bands. But they also have their own music. They just do cover bands songs as well as their own music, if you get what I say. Next thing I want to talk about is hiding your face or your voice. So I understand that in this day of AI and wonderful things going completely wrong, when people don't have a sense of who you are and you're trying to build your personal brand and you're going by name recognition alone, there's no photos, no videos, and no hint of who you are, people honestly don't connect with logos. People don't connect with colors. Now, of course, you in your mind can probably come across various creators or various people that you've come across where you don't actually know what they look like. You just know their humor, you know their mannerisms. You don't know what they sound like because they use an AI voice generator, or they have something that sparks your interest and keeps you coming back, even though they don't have any identifying features. And that is okay. That works. Are you able to replicate that yourself confidently, quickly, now? There's a high chance that you said no. And if you said yes, go ahead. Feel free to use that and use that name recognition alone. Just make sure you use all the other pitfalls that I've mentioned today on that name recognition. But in those events, high instance that you obviously, in those high instances where you didn't say yes straight away to that question I posed, people want to connect with you, and especially when growing your personal brand, they need to trust that you are going to give them the solution they need. So if you are able to, and if you feel safe to, showing your face, sharing your voice, and giving them something real to connect to is going to be more preferential and is going to speed up your growth rather than fakeness, AI fakeness. People want more you and less a Canva template from 2018. And it's also okay if you do not feel safe enough to do that. I'm currently working with someone who doesn't feel safe enough to provide any identifying features. That is okay. We can work around that. We can do that by the tone of voice that the articles that are being written. They are able to utilize their experience and have it in a comedic way that gets people on board, because people really enjoy that. Find what works for you, and again, the people that you serve. And the last two pitfalls that I want to talk about is overthinking everything, especially when you haven't started yet. Tom, I'm looking at you, but no offense to you. If you have started, or if you haven't even started your personal brand or even building your personal brand, and you overthink everything, spending months perfecting your brand before even posting anything, you will never be 100% ready. You will never be ready. You will never take that action, and you will have wasted that energy, time, effort, and money you have put in so far and will in the future. Just hit post, tweak and adjust later. And the internet, or wherever you put your message, isn't made of glass. Things change, things evolve, and that is okay for your brand to do the same as well as you to do the same. You can't steer a parked car. You have to get moving. So in those moments, I want you to overthink, and especially, this is something that I still continue to deal with now. So that's something who's like talking to you about personal branding, and this is kind of my shtick when it comes to personal branding and video marketing. I know it can feel very overwhelming, but I'm going to tell you now, half of that is just procrastination, masquerading as I want things to be right for my client. I want things to be right for them. They want to see you. They don't want to just have you fall off the blip of the radar. Even if it's not perfect, they want their help. They want their problem solved. So in turn, you need to be there, even if it's not perfect. And the last pitfall about for those starting their personal branding journeys is talking and making everything that you do all about you. Your brand is not your online diary. And even though a personal brand is a reflection of you, it's also a public reflection of you that is built for a specific audience. You are there to solve their problem. Yes, it may be a case that you solved the problem because where they are now is where you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. No. Or the people that you help are, for example, maybe you don't have that lived experience. You may not, what am I saying? I'm saying is that you may not have that exact lived experience that they're experiencing, but you're coming from a place of authority because you know what you're talking about and you want to help and serve these people. So in turn, you need to make them the focus. You need to know what they want, what they need, and what they struggle with, and make sure you put that in your messaging. Say it out loud. Even though you may not be the exact right fit and look, it can seem very disingenuous, and people are going to lose trust in you because you're making it all about you. Your stories, your messaging, and your marketing is not a mirror, it's a megaphone. It's meant to project your message out to the people that need to hear it so that they can change their lives and make things work for the better. You are not talking to hear yourself. It's a brand. It's a rant. Well, at least today's podcast episode was a rant. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Wrapping up my points for Tom and for anyone who is listening and watching. Your personal brand is about connection, not perfection. You don't need to be everywhere. You just need to be clear and consistent and do what you are capable of doing. You can always grow. You can always be in more places once you know what you're doing. And do your best to fall in love with how you show up as you, your wins, your warts, your weird dances, because you are stuck with this personal brand. Yes, you can change things. Yes, you can evolve. Yes, you can adapt, but it's not just for you, is it? It's for your audience. Thank you everyone for joining me for this podcast episode. Make sure you check out our everything that's in the show notes. Anything that I have tickled your fancy with, make sure you check it out at vcc.training, where we've got all our products, our services, our tools to help you grow and start your personal brand and actually take action, as well as video marketing and other strategies as well. Look forward to hopefully chatting with you soon. Thank you for listening or watching Unboring Your Brand. You can find detailed show notes with tools, offers, and episode transcriptions. Just click the first link in the description or go to vcc.training/podcast. Get involved and ask me anything about personal branding, video strategy, or just a friendly small business chat via my email, g'day@vcc.training. That is gday@vcc.training. The Video Confidence Coach would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which I record my podcast. I pay my respects to their elders past and present. I stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Look forward to me chatting at you next week, superstars.